Hi, we are back for the Tarps off UK MMA show. This week we are joined by Claire Rankine. How are you doing, Claire? Did I get your name right?
It's Rankin.
Rankine.
But yeah, it's
Rankine.
okay. Everyone says that. But yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Absolutely. And Frank, how are you doing over there?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Been a bit of a dead weekend in terms of MMA, but I'm well and happy to have Claire on the show.
Yeah, so you are currently ranked, is it 8th in the WBC rankings now, or?
Yeah, I'm 8th just now, yeah. Because I haven't fought in like almost a year now. I've just been sitting coasting at 8.
Yeah, so it's been tough to find fights during the pandemic and tough to train as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, even just now, this morning, we found out gym closures has been extended again. So the gym won't open until August 31st. And we even have a curfew now. I can't even leave my house after 10 o'clock. So I'm kind of just training outside and running and trying to stay sane.
What's the usual gym that you're training at, Claire?
Phuket Top Team. And back home in Scotland, I train under Alex Snedden.
Okay. Wait, so are you out there right now at Phuket?
Yeah, I'm out in Phuket. I've lived here for about 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, are there any opponents that you're looking to get in the ring with when you get back, or are you just willing to fight anybody at this point?
At this point, I would literally fight anyone. I would say my last 2 fights, unfortunately, didn't go my way. I had like a weird year in between because of COVID and just everything was a bit crazy. So I definitely want a rematch from my last one because it's kind of sitting with me that I can't get back in there at all. But yeah, I would fight anyone right now, to be honest.
But a rematch definitely is what piques your interest the most.
Yes, because she's ranked number 1. And, they said I lost. I'm not going to be bitter about it, but it was very, very close. So I would love a rematch to get my ranking back up there.
100%.
I wanted to ask Claire, how did you get into Muay Thai in the first place? Because it's not typically something associated with the Scottish, I suppose.
Well, I actually, when I first started training, I started training in MMA in Scotland.
Okay.
And then I had an amateur MMA fight. And then I came out to Thailand to continue MMA. I don't quite know where I put those two together because MMA is not that big here. So it's kind of a weird decision. And then I changed to Muay Thai and then I just went from there.
Do you at all see a potential move back to MMA in the future?
That's the plan. My perfect, ideal plan would be to get into one for Muay Thai and then transition and be able to do both because that's the beauty of one championship. But that's my perfect plan. I don't know if that'll happen.
You're stealing the questions right from us. That's exactly where we were about to take this. But you
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. It's even better that it came right from you. We love it. But your first amateur fight, you did have an armbar victory within, I think it was 1 minute and 18 seconds. So it's not like you even won it with your striking. So I think a move to MMA would probably be very obviously you have a bit of a ground game pulling off the first round submission.
Yeah, for sure. My striking sucked so bad back then that when I got in there, you hear my trainer Alex being like, range, Claire, range. And I just grab her straight away because I'm like, I'm not keeping any range here. I know what my strength is. So I feel like now I've got my striking from Muay Thai. If I go back, it might match up quite well, I would hope.
So you thought you were doing MMA back then without really any striking background, and now you're ranked 8th in the WBC Muay Thai rankings. That's really coming together as a complete mixed martial artist.
Yeah, it was quite a crazy kind of transition. And I've tried to keep doing a bit of MMA training at the same time. But with Muay Thai out here, it's crazy. I was fighting almost every 3 weeks when I started fighting out here. So trying to balance MMA at the same time was quite difficult.
Yeah, and you see that in like one championship. Looking at the Muay Thai fighters' records, they've all fought like over 200 times, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Frank, you fight karate a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that like the same thing over there with karate and Muay Thai, or?
Not well. I mean, karate is very different because you get your one-day tournaments and all that, or exhibitions. It's just it's nowhere near as competitive as Muay Thai, in my opinion. But yeah, I remember I trained about 8 years in sort of Shotokan karate and went to an MMA gym for the first time. And I was like, oh yeah, love this, side kicks and all, doing great. They stick me up against a Muay Thai guy, and everything just went out the door. I don't know. I found I had to rebuild everything as soon as I fought that first Muay Thai person. So I guess my question to you is, how integral or how useful do you find Muay Thai is in application to the overall sport of MMA?
I think that it's kind of a mix. I think it can be really helpful, but sometimes maybe a disadvantage. I think sometimes when you see people transition, you have to be very careful in that transition because especially when you learn Muay Thai in Thailand, it's very much about sweeps and the technicality of that. And if you Muay Thai sweep someone in MMA and they get a hold of you in that position, it's not going to go very well, which I've seen happen sometimes. But I think it can be really useful, especially with clinching, you know, when you're in that position of elbows and you know how to sneak those smaller things in, it can really help you. Whereas I think if you come straight from MMA and you're wrestling in the cage, you sometimes forget those smaller movements that can make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think Luma Lukbumi in the UFC right now, with a huge Muay Thai record, she went up against Angela Hill, who is also a Muay Thai fighter, but is experienced in applying it to Muay Thai. You saw Luma try to fight a Muay Thai fight whilst Angela Hill fought an MMA fight with Muay Thai in it. So yeah. I think that's spot on in that you need the right sort of application for it.
Definitely.
So we heard how you got into Muay Thai, but how did you get into mixed martial arts in itself? Was it something that you always loved, or was there a certain like person that got you into mixed martial arts?
Well, I did start really late. I didn't start training until I was like 22, so I'm like old already compared to everybody. But yeah, I started training. It's not a very positive thing, but it came more from like childhood with like domestic abuse and violence and things. And then I finally got to the point of 22 where my mom got us out of that. And I was like, okay, I really need to learn how to protect myself and protect my mom more. And then it came from that. And I definitely think for women, it's like a security thing where like you feel like confident and like secure in yourself that, you know, you can protect yourself.
Absolutely. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 years as a mixed martial artist or as a Muay Thai fighter? Do you see yourself still in Muay Thai, or in the next 3 years, do you want to make the jump over to mixed martial arts?
I think with COVID, it kind of depends. If it was like a normal world just now, I would say in 3 years, I would probably be only MMA by that point. But it just depends. I still need to fight a lot more. So I would say maybe within 5 years, I hope to be strictly just MMA. Maybe in the next 3, hopefully 1 championship for Muay Thai. And then I can make an announcement after a big win to say I'm coming over or something.
There you go. And I hope you get that 1 championship because it's really fun to watch the product over there. They have that different rule set. They have the 10-point must system for Muay Thai fights, but then when it crosses over to the mixed martial arts fights, they judge the fights as a whole. I think that increases the amount of finishes that we see in 1 championship as opposed to the UFC where, I mean, you might see a lot more decisions. Is that like something that you watch in MMA? Like, do you prefer the 10-point must system or do you like the rule set of 1 championship?
I think it really depends on your style, like your approach to a fight. For me personally, I'm definitely like more of a marathon person. I like to go the whole way and just make you so tired you just want to give up and leave. But I think that think that the 10-point system maybe is not as exciting, but I kind of prefer it. It just depends on your style, I guess, what's better suited for you.
Building off that, there's always, well, for the last few years, there's been a lot of chatter about open scoring. Having the scorecards at the end of the first round and the second round, open to the fighters. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think it would impact your experience as a fighter?
I think for that, I think it depends on how it would affect you mentally. I think that could maybe stress some people and maybe make them panic, or it could go in the good way if it makes you think, okay, I need to like get a finish or a knockout now. So I think that would be really interesting, actually. Maybe not. I probably wouldn't like it if I'm in there, but it pushes you to that point where you have to go, okay, I've got to knock her out or I'm going home with a loss. So, but if you don't have a strong mentality, it might make you panic and like do something wrong. So as a fan to watch it, that would be really cool, but I don't know how I would feel in there doing it.
100%. And then another question I wanted to ask, as a MMA journalist in the UK as well. I know you said.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not cutting that out.
No, please cut that out. So unprofessional. What I meant to say. Like I said, as an MMA fan in the UK, well, we've seen obviously yourself, people like Jojo Calderwood and Paul Craig coming out of Scotland as well. What do you think about the future of, well, not just MMA but martial arts in general, in terms of Scottish youth and prospects? Like, do you reckon there's a good future for Scottish MMA or martial arts?
I think definitely for MMA. For example, with higher level that's in Scotland as well, I believe they now have another fighter at Bellator. They seem to have a lot of fighters they're bringing out from like Cage Warriors and things like that. And I think like with Paul Craig coming out of Hit Squad, they have a lot of good guys there that I worked with way back in the day. And then with my trainer, Alex Snedden, he has a lot of guys that are building up. I think they're now at that age where they're now just coming to their pro debut. So I think in the next few years, we're really going to see a lot more guys coming out, and hopefully girls as well. But I only know mainly the guys that seem to be building up a lot in their amateur record at the moment.
Yeah. I've got to ask, have you ever done any training with Jojo Calderwood at all? You both being Muay Thai
No,
specialists.
she'd already left Scotland by the time I started training. So I only heard of her and I follow her on Instagram. But I've never met her, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
That would be cool to have you guys meet. Maybe if you get into one of these big promotions for your MMA career, you'll get that chance. Is one championship really the goal right now? Just because they have the Muay Thai, they have the mixed martial arts, as opposed to either the UFC or Bellator for fighting?
I would say it makes the most logical sense, definitely. I mean, of course, UFC is like, it's up there. It's like would be an amazing goal to have. The only thing is for me to transition early enough now would be really difficult. I mean, with COVID, we have no MMA coaches, no BJJ coaches at the minute. So I'm literally only Muay Thai right now outside in my shoes. So I have like nothing at the minute. But definitely like if I could transition from one to UFC or something, that would be the ideal dream in the end, if I'm not too old by then.
Well, you have some great goals. Already ranked the number 8 WBC Muay Thai contender. Hopefully you can get some fights coming up here soon. Is there anything else you want to say, like for why people should watch you, or why fans should watch your fights and keep you on the calendar?
I would say with me, you're always going to have, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but a bloodbath of a fight. I'm always bleeding in all of my fights, or they're bleeding. So it's always exciting. And yeah, I think I'm an exciting fighter to come and see.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to share to the fans? Your Twitter handle, where they can follow you? all that good stuff?
Yeah, just my Instagram mainly. Twitter, I have no idea how to work it, to be honest. So Twitter is the main one. It's just Claire.RankineX, if anyone wants to follow me on there, or on Twitter too, but I don't really know how to use it.
Well, thank you very much, Claire. We appreciate your time, and good luck in getting a fight, and good luck once you get that fight.
Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers, Claire.
Absolutely.
Thank you.